So how many of you are holding a mobile phone in your hands? So now I know why there's so few claps. So it's a two-step process. Put the mobile phone on the table and then clap. Step one. Step two. All right, let's call upon the third startup, Oxys.
Yeah, I represent Oxys Technologies Private Limited. We are about a five-year-old company. We have already 4 technology innovations in the market. Our 5th one is a high-impact product where it's reaching masses. So, this is our team profile. We are 2 co-founders, myself Murthy, and I have other co-founder here, George. And our mentor is Jayant. So we are already NASSCOM top 50 emerging product company, award-winning company. And the 5th product, innovative product we are bringing into market is diabetes testing product, a low-cost breakthrough diabetes testing product. So the big problem today is number 1 killer disease is diabetes. About 70 million Indian population with diabetes needs regular monitoring at affordable cost. That is where we are coming in. So we offer very cost-effective blood glucose tests. This product is a result of more than 3 years of research we have done within Oxys and with Premier Lab. So the value proposition is I have the product here. So this is a prototype strip where you do the regular prick and then drop a droplet on this circle, and behind the color of after 20 seconds the color changes depending upon the sugar in the blood. And this is for the rural people where you want to screen whether they are really high sugar or low sugar. You can use this strip to match it and match it to the color wherever it is. So it can give you whether it is low or medium or high. So this is for the people in the rural area where they cannot use any complicated equipment like AccuCheck or One Touch, etc. So they will be able to find out with this whether they are in the low or medium, etc. Now beyond this, what we have done is, so the same strip, we have an app developed with the algorithm. You'll have to show the phone with the app, and you just start. It will read the color, automatically give you absolute sugar reading, precisely. So about 95% accuracy, you can read our blood sugar level. So this is a photo of the product. Traction, currently we have carried out more than 500 tests across Bangalore and rural area. Some of the validation done by some NGOs like Trinity Care, Vital Diagnostics and Healthbox. We have all the evaluation certificates available with us. So the business scale has really 40 million diabetes people who need regular checkup. Out of 70 million people, 40 million it seems needs a regular checkup to keep under control. Some of the doctors are telling us that you have to do 6 times if you are on insulin dependent. Otherwise, you may have to do 3 times or 2 times. So if you see that today cost is prohibitive cost. Actually, the competitors have about 20 rupees a strip or 30 rupees, 20 to 30 rupees. That is what varies in the market. What we are trying to do is we want to do it at 2 rupees so that it reaches the mass, and we want to create a big impact. And we are seeing that it will reach every grocery store, every village. They will be able to easily use the mobile and then a strip. They will be able to find out their sugar level and keep it under control. So interesting thing is here this strip is completely made by us, and an app, everything is made by us. And the strip we are trying to give the free app free to all, and we charge only the strips. So this is what we plan to do, sales and distribution. First is direct sales to state and central governments. And then the other option is we want to sell via directly provide a mobile app where people can send in a SMS and we can ship to them. So we say, okay, minimum of 100 numbers, we ship directly to the person, no in between channels. And the third one, we plan to do it via the regular Flipkart, Snapdeal, Paytm channels. So right now the product is done, a prototype testing is done, field trials are successful, and we are talking to funding houses to take it to the commercial launch. So why one should invest in this venture? Because a huge potential, and it's going to be a continuous need, and diabetes increasing every year. And India is not only market, we are targeting the globe. So first 3 years we want to do it in India, and then we want to go global after 3 years. Yeah, that's all.
Or we can open it up for questions.
Okay.
So this is an import substitution.
Right.
That's fine. So which means the pricing reduction which you're proposing is from 20 rupees to 2 rupees. The rationale behind this is very clear, because 20 rupees is a lot. But if you really have observed over the last 5 years to 10 years, the price has already dropped. Right? So if you want to reduce something from 20 rupees to 2 rupees and sell it on Flipkart and everything, that's a huge manufacturing and marketing challenge. Right? So your entire challenge is actually not in R&D. I mean, even if you make anything, to make something at 2 rupees essentially becomes a manufacturing and marketing challenge. I didn't see any evidence of what you're doing there on that piece. That's number one. Number two, the competition here is ruthless. Right? You're looking at already billions of such strips being sold. So this price of 20 rupees is not necessarily something that's going to hold, right? And that you have seen evidence in the last 10 years. So these are two connected questions. So what is your, how is this price reduction going to happen?
Yeah, to answer your question, number one, it's not straight away import substitution. There is an innovation happening in terms of the strip as well as the app. If you see the competition, they have a strip as well as electronics comes with it. Any type, electrochemical, or you look at colorimetric, there is always a strip, and in combination there is a separate electronics, which only urban people can use. People in the city, rural people cannot use, because it's a very complicated interface, and you need a regular battery, etc. So here in our case, we are not talking about any extra electronics. We are straight away using the smartphone, regular smartphone, and the strip. So it's not a one-to-one substitute. There is an innovation with the mobile.
There are two types of strips. One, directly you can look at the color, and then there's one with the electronics. So I mean, that's not a correct statement that you need electronics all the time.
If you want an absolute number, you definitely need electronics. Yeah. Because doctors demand 95% accuracy.
But the price reduction you have not mentioned, cannot answer the question yet. So how does this 20 rupees to 2 rupees happen?
That's because we have done everything in India. Now the other products, every other strip, it comes out of India. It comes from outside, either from China, German, and other countries. Nobody makes it here.
So actually, just a follow-up to that, a lot of these products, especially in things like this where it's in the commodity market space, a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that the cost for those products is very different from the price of the products. What I'd like to know from you is, in terms of your research on the competition, how much do you think it costs the other strips? They may be having 95% margins, which is true for most things.
Okay.
And a good example is Gillette blades, right? No matter what you do, people buy Gillette blades, and they'll buy it at $10. But the cost for that is very small, and they can reduce the price at any moment. that if they see competition. So what your advantage would be is in the technology and the accuracy and all that, so that you can stave off the competition.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked enough about that to know, for me to know
Sure.
whether you're
So
really
it's a good
innovative
question.
or not.
Good question. So there is a lot of advantage in terms of competition. If you buy a competitor product, it comes like this in a box. You open it, then the shelf life of it is just 3 months. Within 3 months, you have to use it or throw away. Our product, any Indian weather condition, any place, you can store it, and we have validated up to 16 months, so the life is very large, shelf life is very large. So that's the advantage. And apart from that, we are also doing something, working on something very interesting, something called HbA1c, which is 3 months average blood sugar. So using the same strip at 2 rupees, you will be able to do even that HbA1c. Today it costs 700 rupees in the lab. So we are working on that. When it's ready, we will announce that.
So one quick question from the audience. Oh, okay. So
Got one follow-up question. Not just you, but other people who are working in these new kind of diagnostics, simpler, cheaper. Many times I find that the emphasis on certification, the regulatory approvals is missing. And I didn't see it in this presentation, but generally I want to understand from you, what would it take for this to get to the market? Because you're already talking about commercial launch. I'm assuming there is a step.
Yeah. So here, it's not offering any therapeutic thing. It's just a monitoring. So it doesn't need a very strict regulatory checking. But in India, at least, there is something called DGCAI, where we are working with the large hospitals here, currently under validation. Once it is done, we have to take the certificate, submit it with them, and they will give us a go to for market. So it doesn't need any FDA or type of approvals.
one question.
Hi, this is Venkat. What is the accuracy? How are you really measuring the accuracy? Because you say that I can use a smartphone and read the color code, but different smartphones have different cameras, and and how can you really say that you are 95% accurate?
Yeah. So there, what we have done is we have worked across various smartphones and cameras. So we have minimum camera level, and then app. There is some amount of learning within the app regarding the ambient condition, etc. So what we are also trying to do is, if you want a consistent accuracy over a period, somebody is really found he wants a continuous monitoring throughout, very accurate. We are also working on a separate electronics to remove away this ambient disturbance, small electronics. So that will remove all this,
Thank you.
all the random things, and then measure and give you precise reading.
Thank you. For those of you who showed up late, you can find these cards on your table. This is for you to write down the name of one of the companies, your favorite through the 7 companies. So make sure you put that as you walk out and give it to one of us, hand it over as you walk out at the end of the 7 sessions. So let's call upon the next company, Tricog.
I'm co-founder and the CTO of Tricog Health Services. Our mantra is, how do we use technology to preserve life? And the problem that we're trying to address is that there are 5 million heart attacks in India every year. This is last year. And 3 million of these people did not survive that heart attack. And a big reason for that is that there is a delay in the diagnosis. And there was a study done in 2008 by the Lancet, which took into account 21,000 patients across 50 cities and found that the average time from the time to from onset of symptoms to the start of treatment is a whopping 360 minutes in India. And people talk about the golden hour, and there's a reason for that golden hour. The reason is that the mortality, the reduction in mortality drops very significantly after that first 1 hour. And the Indian average being at 6 hours, there's a 20% chance that you'll survive that heart attack. This is, of course, on the average. Our aim is to give you that 80% chance, to get you back to that golden hour, right? A lot of people don't suffer. This is an example where don't survive. There's an example of a techie who lost her husband after 3 days of being misdiagnosed, and then even after 2 stents, the person did not survive. The real problem is that reading an ECG is very complicated, and doctors coming out of medical school are required to understand 14,000 different diseases, and picking up a heart attack requires you to pick up one of those squiggly lines in the back of the screen and figuring out which one is acidity and which one is a heart attack, which one is an MI, myocardial infarction. And so our solution is we've taken an off-the-shelf machine. This one is from GE. It's sort of the top of the line machine. It's the best quality machine in our opinion for resting ECG. And we've developed a little piece of hardware that we call the TriCog dongle, and that connects to this traditional ECG machine and makes it a cloud-connected ECG machine. It does a bunch of stuff internally. It takes serial data, compresses it, encrypts it, things like that. All of the standard IoT stuff, I would say. But I think the key thing, and this is very important, is that these ECG machines are used by technicians who don't want to deal with all of the complexities that come with some of the newfangled technology. And what we've done is that we've made it a one-click workflow. It's the same ECG machine. They use the same button on that ECG machine. This box works in the background. It captures the data sort of transparently, turns on transparently, turns off, does its job, and goes to sleep. Right? So that's really the innovation in the hardware. What we've also done is that we have a back-end system which is analytics algorithms that do feature extraction and diagnosis, and that's what we call the TriCog engine. But what we've done is that we've coupled that with a set of doctors that we have trained in-house, which we call our expert doctors, and they look at the annotated data from our algorithms, and they make a go-no-go decision on each ECG that comes through our system. And the key thing is that this interpretation goes out of our system within 5 minutes. So even as the patient is coming off, the electrodes are coming off, the ECG interpretation reaches the doctor in the clinic. So the way that the analysis works is that as we talked about earlier in this event, is that the algorithms aren't there yet. There's 60–70% accuracy, and we understood that at the outset. And so what we did was that we looked at the algorithms and said, okay, if you're going to make our own, what new secret sauce can we add? And the new thing that we added was that we added confidence measures to all of the decision making that we do in the entire pipeline. It's a fairly complicated pipeline. There's 200 different diagnoses you can do from a resting ECG. And what the confidence measures give us is that they can tell us when an ECG is obviously normal and it's obviously abnormal, and then there's stuff in the middle that are borderline. And we'll annotate that to our doctors and say, you know what, we are confident these are good diagnoses. You can just review this, say yes, it'll go out quickly. And the ones that are borderline, we know that they need to spend more time in review. So that's what's shown on the right-hand side. And what that does is it makes our workflow very efficient. It really reduces the human burden. A lot of the times, all of these tele-ECG companies cannot scale because of the human burden. And I think what we've done is that we've magnified the impact that the human can make by applying technology in one of these places. So this is sort of a usage example. And we've done something interesting on the business model side as well. So we give these machines, both of these, the GE machine and our INI TriCog dongle, with no upfront cost to the doctor. And the doctor usually charges about 250 rupees in India, 200 to about 400 actually rupees. And we charge the doctor 50 rupees. We don't charge the patient. We charge the doctor 50 rupees for the ECG. The doctor keeps the other 200. And that 50 rupees as a pay-as-you-go service accumulates over 18 months and actually pays for the device. These devices are medical grade. They last for almost a decade, right? 7 years is what GE claims this device can last, right? And then once the data comes to the doctor, The data comes to our cloud. It is also available to the doctor as an app, and he can use that to refer to a cardiologist in a tertiary care center. We have that workflow also built in. And there's a set of typically 5 cardiologists that a particular GP or a clinic doctor will refer his patients to, and he can coordinate that care, and we help that coordination, what we call sort of a concierge service, so that if there's an acute case, the patient does not lose any time. They reach the tertiary care center, the cardiologist is ready, their team is ready, the cath lab is ready, and the treatment starts right away. That's really the intent behind all of this. The team, we have Dr. Charit, who is the visionary behind all of this. He's an interventional cardiologist by profession. Dr. Udayan Dasgupta, he's the guy, the genius behind all the algorithms. And Abhinav, who's here in the audience with me, and he's done all the magic behind all the software that runs in the cloud. So we have a core team which does embedded systems, the hardware that I take care of. There's the medical, there's the algorithms, and there's the software. We're a very new company. We incorporated about a year ago. We've done most of this in the last 9 months. We went live in February this year. And we've had a very interesting journey already. It seems like forever that we've been here. And in the last 9 months, we've done 100 plus, 140 actually, clinics, nursing homes, and hospitals, mostly in Bangalore. And some now have gone to Mysore, some as far-flung as Davangere, if people have heard of that, and Shimoga, Mandya, Channapatna, places I haven't visited myself. The response has been phenomenal. People have been using this every day, 3-4 times a year. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
You started off your presentation with a big bang, and I was, to be honest, I was expecting a lot more, but it's slightly different in the sense that you said you're going to solve the problem of the 80% of people who don't get service for heart-related problems in a timely manner. But the device that you have is something that the guy is already in the hospital at that time. Right? He knows what's wrong with him. So how is there a...
Actually, the problem is that most times you don't know that you have a problem, and it starts with a slight chest pain, and starts with something that you usually attribute to something you ate. And that's where most of the time is lost. And you'll sort of ignore it. You'll sort of go to your local clinic, your local family doctor. He'll say, no, I think you have acidity, maybe give you some Rantac. Then you might go to a nursing home, and they'll do the same thing. Maybe,
so
yeah.
in this case,
if you go to a tertiary care center, I think you're fine.
No,
you're not in the 80%.
No, but then the issue then is you're trying to make this as a screening test, and you're forcing the patients to go there on a regular basis to the doctor. And I think neither of those things, as a practice, you're not going to change the behavior of people.
It's not a routine. It doesn't need to be a routine exam. Well, we do have some people who are using it as for master health checkups in camps, etc. But most of the people, in the 23,000, actually until yesterday we were at 28,000 patients. These are not small numbers, and I think it's really heartening to see that 2,000 patients plus are heart attack patients. These are acute patients that we have caught. These are patients who have landed at clinics with chest pain, and we said, you need to go to a doctor now, right? And doctors call us back and say, we would have missed this, all right? I think that's really the magic behind all of this. And 2,000. I don't say that 2,000 they would have missed, and I'm talking about anecdotally, we have received so many calls from Mysore. I don't know. I don't think I have statistics, but I think the number of cases that we catch on a daily basis is about 2 or 3 a day, 2 or 3 MIs a day right now with 100 devices.
Differential question.
Yeah.
He's asking a differential question. How many of that would the doctor? So there are 2 layers to this.
Yes.
I agree with that. This is not an early catching system, because when people have it's the problem of being in a class. When people have this gastritis kind of thing, 90% of them don't go to the doctor. Let me tell you that.
Right.
So that is why
until the pain doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in that case, that numbers are very small. So those numbers, the reason why early screening does not work in India is because of people and practice.
And you're talking about an awareness problem, and an awareness problem is a big one. And I think we need, yes.
Let's keep it to the point.
Sure.
I mean, awareness is not that something which you are trying to solve. Let's keep
Yes.
it to the point. You are trying to, or rather you intended to address a problem which shows up even without a symptom, or a very, very early symptom. That's how it started. It may have been different, but that's how it was
usually chest
pitched.
pain. I mean,
That's
a
fine.
heart attack usually starts with
So
chest
the
pain.
key thing is it needs a ECG device anyways. which
Absolutely,
means
it's a first step.
Right, it's a hospital thing.
It's a clinic
So-
thing, I would say. Yes, it's a medical grade thing.
Right. So when you say this 2,000 heart attacks have been caught, how many of them would have been caught anyways without TRICOG, with just the ECG machine is the key question.
I don't have that answer because it's ground truth that we cannot capture. I wish I had that answer and I said, you know what, just ignore that you had the TRICOG machine and do it.
Let's move on to one question from the audience. We still have a minute. Yep.
When you took this technology to the doctors, was it a hard sell to convince them, or they said, yeah, I needed this?
We have a wait list right now of 300 plus people. We are partnered with GE. I wish they would give us boxes faster. That's where we are. We have doctors calling us. You know, when we tell them we'll come back in 2 weeks and we haven't gone back, they call us back. And I can't tell you how many people call us back, but some people do.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next innovation. It's BPL Medical Technology.
So yes, very good afternoon to one and all present here. So it's close to 4 o'clock. I understand it's after lunch, and I know the spirits are a little low. But yes, so I am from BPL, the company that you would have known for consumer electronics, the TV and the refrigerators of the years ago. So now we are BPL Medical Technologies. So we are more of a startup because we spun off into a new company in 2013, and this is our first foray into mHealth. And the team that developed this product that I'm going to exhibit today is Sriram, who's our R&D head, Shrikant, Suresh Bhatt, and I'm Kavya. I'm from the marketing team. So I am talking about a product that can measure a 12-lead ECG plus blood glucose and can also measure activity recordings. By activity, I mean the steps taken, calories burned, and things like that. So all this built into a very small form factor that's about 70 grams in size, and that's BPL iPhone Plus. That's the product I'm going to exhibit. So why exactly is this product required, and what's the problem statement that we're talking about? If you think of any chronic disease for that matter, cardiac disease or diabetes or any sort of chronic illness, the main problem is the fact that for a doctor, the very nature of the disease lies in the fact that a lot of follow-ups are required. Frequent visits to the doctor is required for the patient, and most of the patients are lost to follow-up. So that's the problem, main problem that most of the doctors face. And in addition to that, there is no medical records that were there in the past of the patient. So the continuity of care is completely lost. From the point of a patient, say me, who has a disease, and if I have to make a follow-up visit to the doctor, I have to think about the money that's involved. I have to think about the waiting time, and I have to take a leave from my office. So all these become a deterrent to every single patient who wants to go for a follow-up visit. And how do I solve this? So that's the idea behind developing this device. And also the fact that most cardiac patients are diabetic and diabetic patients are cardiac, so vice versa. And all these patients are prescribed some sort of physical activity by the doctor. And for him to monitor what exactly is this patient doing remotely is why BPL iPhone Plus comes in. So if you look at the solution, that's the device we are talking about. It's a self-use handheld device that can take a 12-lead ECG. It communicates through Bluetooth to an Android smartphone, and by placing it in different positions in the body, you get a comprehensive 12-lead ECG plus a blood glucose meter that's already integrated into it. You get a BG measurement as well. And you can also measure the number of steps taken, calories burnt, and heart rate. So after measuring all this, it also secures all this data into a cloud as a backup. So after every single measurement is taken, I, as a patient, I am given an opportunity to consult a specialist. If I think I have palpitations, and if I think it's an abnormal event that I am going through, I have an option of consulting the specialist at that point in time. So the payment gateway is also integrated. Any single consultation that comes in goes and sits inside the medical response center. So we have a comprehensive ecosystem with a mobile health platform. So this is basically the workflow. Since this is a PDF file, I wouldn't be able to exhibit it, but I can show you a short demo. Within a minute, you would be able to see a 12-lead ECG. I would request my colleague to just come over the stage and explain the process. I'll hold it for you. So this is basically the home screen that helps communicate to the device through Bluetooth. The moment I click on ECG, the app intuitively guides you as to where you should be placing it. So he places the electrode in the first position and presses the trigger button. As you can see, it's just a handheld device. It does not have any external electrodes or gel for conductivity. All you have to do is place it in the positions and you'll have the leads captured. Every position, it goes on for 12 seconds, and at the end of the 12 seconds, that's the long beep, the app would guide you where you should place it again. So this intuitive guiding is done through the app. So the first position is capturing lead 1, 2, 3, and AVR, AVL, and AVF through the references, as you can see. The second position is capturing MCL 1 and 2, V1, V2 coordinates. Third position, 45 degrees, would be capturing MCL 3 and 4. So as you can see, there are 12 beeps that come in every single step. Altogether, it will be 48 seconds. Considering the breathing time and settling time for the patient, should be within a minute. And the final step. So it's going to be a minute, which is exactly why we said in a screening camp or in any sort of a screening setup, the turnaround time for one ECG is going to be so much lesser. So after he finishes, we'll be able to see a 12-lead ECG on the screen. So that's about it. You can see the heart rate, a 12-lead ECG, where you can add a comment and save it to the cloud. Thank you so much. So it's as simple as that to acquire a 12-lead ECG. The moment we thought of taking it as a B2C device, we knew for a fact that it has to be very easy to use and convenient. And that's the idea behind it. It also has a secure cloud server, as I just explained. So we ideated this in early 2012, I would say. But after that, our technology partners behind this is Intel. So Intel helps us with the cloud and with the app as well. So after that, we did have a couple of modifications to the design. It was initially a 3-lead device, to be frank. And after that, a lot of our KOLs came back and told us it has to be a 12-lead ECG for them to even if it's a screening device, 12-lead ECG will give them more information on that. So we had to redesign it. And we launched it on June 2015. It's been 6 months, and it's been a very interesting journey for us. It's completely manufactured in India and Palakkad, and it's IDD and MDD compliant for now. We filed the CE, we are expecting it by this month end, after which we are planning to go international. So there are a couple of variants. The variant that we see is priced at around 15,500. And with respect to marketing activities, recently in World Heart Day, we've screened 5,000 patients with this particular ECG machine, and a record of this sort was created in Limca Book of Records as well, and it's recorded as a Guinness Book of Record. So the device has been pretty good with respect to rhythm abnormalities and screening and triaging. The learning in this case has mainly been the fact that we initially thought it would be a B2C device. So directly a consumer would buy and then we would be able to sell it to them. That didn't happen. So a physician intervention was definitely required. A recommendation from the physician is required. At that point in time, we found a new use case where in a clinic, a physician is going to use it for screening and triaging purposes. And that makes the majority of our market right now. So individual GPs have been using the device in the past 6 months, and we found good success with that. Main future outlook, I would say, after we get the CE, obviously to go international is the outlook that we're thinking about. And also through the Digital India campaign, we would love to partner with PHCs and telemedicine centers. And addition of more modules obviously is in the path ahead. But preventive healthcare is more of an infancy stage right now. So once we go international, it's already covered under insurance, and we expect to prosper there. And once preventive healthcare is covered in insurance here, obviously that's the future outlook that we have. The aim is to get there like a BP monitor or a glucometer. ECG should be taken. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess the first question is, why would I want this? So we heard from an earlier speaker that some of this information is much more valuable when we get ambulatory heart rate. So this is resting heart rate, and it's a pretty sophisticated one at 12 leads. So what are you actually trying to find? What types of conditions are you trying to intervene on?
Sure.
Why would they want this?
Sure. So I would address it with the target market that we are currently looking at. Any cardiac or diabetic patient, health proactive, let's say that's going to come under the future. Like if I really want to keep in track with my ECG and consult a cardiologist, that's a separate market. What we are currently looking at is post-intervention. Say if I have a known case of ischemic disease or any other known form of cardiac disease, and if I've had an intervention and if my doctor wants to monitor me after the intervention, that's when I would require to take an ECG every single month. So instead of going to the doctor every single time to follow up, that's when we think we should be taking an ECG by ourselves and sending it to the doctor. That's the thought process.
Okay, so another question, and again, just in terms of how widely this might be used, I think we heard in another talk about how few cardiologists are trained or available to do this kind of reading. So is this kind of by design a relatively limited market for this? To people who are trained in reading and interpreting the results?
Sure. So the market for the device is not cardiologists. They are not a target market to be using it. The ones who are using it, we know for a fact that there are close to 6 to 6.5 lakh general practitioners in India. So most of the cases, if you observe, not everybody, unfortunately, is trained enough to interpret complex cases. So any case that comes, realistic scenarios, we've seen people taking ECGs, sending it through WhatsApp to a cardiologist to get a consultation back. So that is what we're planning to simplify. A GP can use it for screening or triaging purposes, or if he sees an abnormality, send it directly through the cloud to the cardiologist and get a consultation back. So that's what we're looking at. And not really a cardiologist using it, because this is not a replacement for a 12-channel ECG. We are never looking at it that way. So this is going to be more of a complement to an already existing diagnostic grade ECG. This is a screening or a triaging device. That's how we position it.
You know, I've seen a device attached to an Apple iPhone,
okay,
which shows you this ECG.
Sure.
How does your product compare to that?
So
that doesn't have anything at all. It just, you hold it in your hand, it gives you the ECG.
True. That I believe there are few competitors, indirect competitors of ours, where you just have to hold it with your 2 fingers and you'll see an ECG. That's going to be a live call. That's right. So that's going to be a single lead ECG. So the number of abnormalities that you can deduct with a single lead ECG is going to be much more limited when you compare it with a 12 lead ECG. Say in a single lead ECG, you find an abnormality towards the end of the cardiac cycle. That won't be captured. So in a 12 lead ECG, the first cardiac cycle where our 6 leads appear, something happens at the end of it, the next 6 leads will capture and pronounce it more effectively. So it gives more information for the physician to diagnose the condition. And if you think about AliveCore, it was initially priced at around $200 in the introductory stage. So that's going to be a single lead ECG, and compare it with our product, it's a 12 lead ECG around the same price range. That's the differentiator.
One question from the audience.
If the device is not placed properly on the body, will it not function or will it give inaccurate results?
Very, very important question actually. Something that I forgot to address. Right now, I would have to admit there is no sensor that will tell you you've not positioned it properly. The app can guide you intuitively as to where you should position it. But what we are looking at right now is that when you place it in the first position, as you know, it captures limb leads, but it only takes references from your arms and from your limbs. So even if the position is a little off, you would still get a true representation of an ECG. So this is validated through a clinical trial that we did with 2,000 patients in KMC Manipal. So we have the test results, and the ECG has looked fairly similar. 96% accuracy was observed.
We still have a minute. We still have a minute. I'll give you the.
So any more questions?
I'll give you all of your time.
Sure.
Just putting one and one together, are you talking to the previous company that presented who can read the ECG?
Yeah, we are. So that's obviously something that we are already in touch with them.
Yeah, Could you talk a little bit more again about, I don't think I have it clear yet.
Sure.
Who do you think is going to buy the device and then determine where it gets used?
So there are a couple of use cases. I'll put it clear this time. So one, our main target market is going to be somebody who's already undergone an intervention. So for him to monitor his ECG and send it to a cardiologist.
But in that case, who's doing it? Is the patient deciding they want that, or the doctor?
It's the patient, because it's a self-use device. This goes as a part of the discharge kit, to put it clearly. So once he goes out of the hospital, this comes as a part of the discharge kit through which he can monitor his ECG regularly and send it to the cardiologist.
All right, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you
going
so
to be
much.
fair on both ends.